Welcome to the Empowered Aging Podcast. Your host is Michelle, a physical therapist passionate about helping older adults stay active, mobile, and independent. Let's dive into today's topic.
Those of you who've been following me for a while know pretty well by now that just about everything I do revolves around balance. Whether we're working on fall prevention and fall recovery, or neuropathy, or any of the classes that I do, balance is a big component of all of those things. And it occurred to me recently when I was looking at something on Facebook or something, and I noticed that a lot of the exercises that I see being recommended are kind of more static type exercises, particularly when a client comes to me and says what exercises they've been working on, whether their therapist gave it to them or they found them somewhere. A lot of times it's about standing on one leg. They'll stand on one leg while they're brushing their teeth, or I don't know, while their coffee is percolating or something. So a lot of these things are very static when our lives are so dynamic. So if you've been to any of my classes, you see that my balance activities, how I incorporate balance, has to do with our function, right? Every time we take a step, yes, we're standing on one leg, but we're also moving. Our body is moving over that leg. If we're getting up and down off the floor, huge balance component. Again, we're moving. So I wanted to take some time and show you some things that I would recommend working on when it comes to balance that's functional, what you can really use. Now, that doesn't mean never work on standing on one leg. That's fine. If you're standing in line and you can't go anywhere, and that's a decent thing to work on. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. When I recommend standing on one leg, I'm usually using that activity more for a hip strengthening exercise, how to keep your pelvis level, your core, your posture. So there's a lot more to that exercise. So I think in and of itself, the exercise is great. I just want to take you to that next step with some balance exercises that will really come in handy for your day-to-day movement. So let's get started. Dynamic standing balance does not always mean the feet are moving. It's not all about stepping. It just means that our body needs to move. Our feet may actually remain relatively in the same position. And that comes into play when we're reaching for things outside of our base of support. That can come into play particularly in the kitchen or maybe in the bathroom, where you're not really stepping to something, you're just going to reach for it. Now, keep in mind, if you're reaching for something, I'd like it to be pretty much no further than this. If you're starting to reach for things way out here, then I think a step might be a good idea. But let's say the thing is relatively close, you're just going to reach for it. Some people have issues with that and have difficulty shifting that weight. So in order to prepare for that, right, a lot of it is going back to what we did earlier, shifting weight, but now we're going to add that reach. And what I want you to practice is reaching in different directions. Sometimes we may reach for something up high, and so we want to work on going upward. Our posture is going to be up tall. We're coming off this leg, but it stays on the ground. But other times we might want to reach a little more level. And then there are those times when we're reaching toward the floor. Now that's a whole nother reach, isn't it? But it takes balance and now more strength because we need to be able to come back up. But this is a very functional reach. So you could be reaching to the one side. Maybe you're inclined to reach across for whatever reason. So we need to work on rotating our bodies. My weight shifts from leg to leg as I do that, because when I rotate across my body, I want this back leg to follow me, rotate with me. If I don't, I'm limited and I could hurt my back at the same time, and I'm not going to have that range, and I'm more likely to fall because I've limited myself. So allowing my body to reach and move freely, but again, in different directions, not just forward. We go up, and of course, we reach down. That's a tougher one. Again, we're requiring more leg strength, more core strength to pick ourselves back up, and not something I recommend for everyone. But if that's something that you think you're capable of doing, start working on it. And you don't have to reach to the floor right away. Reach towards your knee. Just getting used to this movement and then working your way down. Once you feel comfortable just going through the motions, think about maybe using weights as you reach. Because usually when we're reaching for something, we're either putting something away or taking it down. So can you handle a little bit of weight as you reach? So far, I've been reaching with my feet in this position, even this way, about hip or shoulder width apart. But sometimes when we're reaching forward, we might actually want to have one foot in front. So we might reach upward. This goes back to the movement that we did at the beginning, working on our stepping. But in this case, we're not moving our feet necessarily. We're just shifting our weight back and forth. I could do kind of a reach across in this position as well. That kind of depends on where you're already standing and how you feel comfortable. When it comes to functional balance, I think stepping has to be at the top of the list. In order to walk safely, we need good balance. So I think a stepping activity is a great place to start. I would recommend starting with just a weight shift. Now, depending on where you are on your balance abilities, you might speed this video up to something harder. But I'm going to start these at the lowest possible denominator for people who even find this challenging. So having one foot in front of the other, or past the other, not directly in front, as you can see, okay? Like I've taken just a little step. I'm just going to rock my weight back and forth. And some people might think, oh, that's so easy. Some people really have difficulty moving the whole body. Oftentimes when people are really getting back to walking, whether it's after a surgery or after an injury or a stroke, they have issues moving all of these different parts in the right order and sequence. So we might see some of this stuff instead of whole body movement, which is what we need for walking. So I might start adding in arms as I do my rock, because the arms are really important when we're walking. Many times as people get older, they start swinging their arms less, rotating their trunks less, and that just makes for a rigid walk and not so safe, really. Once this feels good, we start adding the step. And the thing I like to focus on here is a smooth step. So I'm not rushing because I can't keep my balance. No, I'm making sure that I'm shifting my weight so that I can smoothly advance the other leg. Now, if you're just starting out with this and you're not fully comfortable doing this without holding on, then by all means, start holding on with something. And as your confidence improves, you start letting go of that support, and that's absolutely fine. It's more important that you're moving with good quality than trying to do it without anything and leaning and falling all over the place. Now, there are going to be times when we're not walking forward or backward, but we're taking side steps. Maybe at church through the pews, or at a movie theater, or just sidestepping to get out of somebody's way, working in the kitchen. Look, there are a lot of different reasons why we might need to step to the side. So it's a skill that we still need to practice because it's a different weight shift than what we do when we step forward and back. Just like we did with that forward back step, side to side, I also would start with feet in a good position, hip, shoulder width apart, and simply working on shifting the weight. Again, we're looking at posture being upright. So I'm not just pushing my hip side to side because that doesn't really get all my weight off the other leg. I need to move all of my weight over to each side. Eventually, you'll find that you're getting enough weight off the one leg that a foot can come up. You might start with this little motion and then actually start to try to step and come in. Coming back over, step, shift your weight, foot in, shift, step, shift. And I think it's important to go both directions because your hips need to work a little differently, whether they're the standing leg or the moving leg, and in each direction. Taking your time with the movement, making it smooth and comfortable is what I'm looking for, as opposed to this. One of the moves I teach in Tai Chi has a sidestepping movement, and many times people do this kind of step. It's because the weight shift isn't there. We need to make sure all of our weight is on that next leg before we move the other. So we've worked on forward and backward stepping, side stepping, and then there's turning. That's a step, and that can get a little complicated sometimes. If we take off with the wrong foot or our body's going a different direction, a lot of people end up falling when they're turning. So to work on that, I'm going to go through the same steps as I did with forward, backward, side to side. I'm going to have my feet a little bit more at a turned out. And I'm first going to just rotate as I shift my weight. So I'm shifting my weight to this other leg, allowing this back leg to rotate with me. So I'm getting used to not just the weight shift, but now I'm adding the rotation. I can add a little reach. That's just going to get my body rotating even more. You can add both arm reach, kind of a swing, arm swing, all getting us ready for a turn step. Once that feels comfortable, you're feeling good, you think you could maybe take a step, I'm going to actually step that foot around and come around. I can step, rotate, step, step, pivot, step, step, pivot, step. I'm pivoting so that I can keep going. I step and I pivot and I step. I step, pivot, step. If that pivoting is difficult, that's another activity that you can kind of work on as well. That takes some calf strength. We kind of pick up, pivot, pick up, pivot, pick up, pick up. There are different ways of turning. That's more of a pivot turn. If that's a little too challenging for you, you can just step and come around, step, come around. Think of it as a quarter turn if you can, but allowing your body to go in the direction that you're turning. So if I'm turning to the left, I'm not just turning my foot out, I'm actually rotating my body and my leg just kind of follows along. It's just going with my body. And then I come on in, rotate, in. I rotate and I come in. What I see a lot is people will try to take a turn step with the opposite leg. So if I were turning left, they would lean with the right, and then they end up with this crossover step. And if you're not a pivoter, that's a wrong way to go. So try to always lead with the leg on the side that you're turning. So if I'm going to the left, I start with my left leg, and then I can keep going. Other way, this leg's going to turn, and then I keep going. So practicing these turn steps can be helpful to avoid those tricky step over, crossing over your feet and getting tangled up. That happens a lot in the kitchen, particularly. Stepping is not always going to be over a flat surface with no obstacles. And it takes a different balance reaction to prepare for those. So let's talk about obstacles that you have to step over. I'm using, it happens to be a game in a box, not too wide. You could find maybe those flatter tissue boxes, or it could just be a cane or a broomstick that you put on the floor at first. But try to make it something that's a little higher so that you can practice real life. Things I can think of that I've had clients trip on are those curbs, those things in parking lots, that people, they think they can make it over. They didn't make it over. And they catch the back foot or something like that. So good thing to practice. So just like we did, we're going to practice stepping forward over it. I'm going to start with just one foot, forward and back, just to get used to that bigger step. I have to pick my foot up higher, which is going to challenge my balance a little differently. So picking up and stepping over is a good way to start. Again, if you need to hold on to something as you're doing this, please do that. We're not trying to get you so off balance that you fall by any means. Once you feel a little more comfortable with that, I'd like you to go ahead and step both feet over. So stepping and stepping. Now, if you're not so comfortable with backward steps, you might want to turn around and just go forward over it again. It's oftentimes the back foot that gets caught because it's kind of behind you. It's like, oh, it's trailing, it'll follow. Well, it doesn't always follow the way you want. So you need to pay attention to both feet as they step over, paying just as much attention to the back leg. stepping forward and keeping that posture up tall so that this other leg will follow more easily. Now, if I were to bend over, if I step over here and then I'm trying to lift this leg, it's actually going to be harder to bend and lift this leg if I'm bent. I have to work harder and bring it closer to my chest than if I'm standing upright. It'll bend more easily. Now, I am not suggesting you need to step backward over this box as I have been doing, but if you're feeling, like your balance is good enough, it's not a bad thing to practice. Not only are we going to face obstacles going forward, but sideways as well. Think about stepping into a bathtub or a shower. We're often holding on maybe to a grab bar or something and stepping in sideways. So it's a good thing to practice. I like to start off with one leg only, because then that foot doesn't have to go quite as far. It's a little less challenging because of the distance that has to be made here. Once I'm ready to step over with both feet, now I need to step further out in order to give me room for the other foot. So with both activities, the single step and then both feet, practice going both ways. Posture needs to be upright. That allows our legs to move more efficiently. We need to come up high enough to clear and shift the weight over to that side. If I don't shift my weight enough, right? I'm going to shift. I'm going to go as far as I can before I try to lift the other leg. I don't want to be over here and trying to lift this one. Shift over. Bring myself over. There's more to going up and down steps than just good leg strength. Balance plays a huge role in our ability to safely go up and down stairs. If your leg strength is pretty good and you're ready to really work on the balance component of it, these are some ways I would suggest doing that. Again, holding as much as you need to start until your confidence builds, but I want you to start working on not placing this other foot down. Maybe touch it down temporarily just for a little stability, but work toward lifting. Now, this can be a big challenge, all right? Please don't try this until you're ready. Posture is very important here. We must keep our bodies upright as opposed to this. This is not going to allow a very balanced movement. If you have trouble keeping that posture up, one trick is to raise one or both arms upward. That helps to bring our posture up. The next step, and we're getting into some advanced stuff here, so please don't try things that you feel uncomfortable with, and always hold on as much as you need to start. But the next step would be to be able to go up and over. So I'm going to come up, not even touch down, put that foot down below the step. You could start with a lower step, obviously. Start with something really small, a book, working your way up to a step like this. So there's a lot to this movement. This is a higher level one that I want you to take your time with, but it's good to have a challenge, goals, as long as you do it safely. Now let's talk about agility. That's a little bit more about It's more about reaction time, being able to move quickly. And that kind of goes along with balance. So the way I like to practice this in my classes is to do quick steps. If any of you do line dancing, you might recognize the rocking chair move, where we rock it forward, rock it back, rock it forward, rock it back. And my intention here is a fast step. I'm catching myself in case I were to lose my balance. So you might notice that my posture is not quite as tall when I'm going backward. That's a way to recover because my body's going back, so I'm going to kind of pull myself forward a little bit to counteract that. So working on the faster steps can help improve our agility for those times where we trip on that tree root or garden hose out in the yard. I would do the same thing to the side. A quick step, a quick step, quick, quick, quick. You could do a diagonal quick. Anything where you are moving quickly to catch yourself. Balance should not always be slow. Movement, our natural lives, are not always slow. So we need to be able to react with some faster movements. So as you can see, there are a lot of different ways of working on balance. It's not just about picking up one foot, standing on one leg for so long. Think about how you move in the day. Do you do a lot of things in the kitchen? Do you do a lot of walking outside? Thinking about how you spend your day can help you kind of tailor your balance exercises to your daily needs. If you're not sure how to do that, please feel free to reach out to me or to a therapist around you. But most importantly, I want you to include balance in your daily routine, whether it's something that you do while standing in line or while cooking in the kitchen. Factor it in somehow because balance is embedded in every activity you do. So give those exercises a try. Reach out if you need me. Join a class. Just every class I do focuses on balance in some way or another. And if you live somewhere else, find a class near you that includes balance along with strength and flexibility, because all of these things are essential to living a long, active, and independent life. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today. If this episode helped you learn something new, we hope you'll share it with someone who could benefit as well. Until next time, keep moving, stay strong, and take care of your body.